Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Nuclear PODBLAST. I'm your host and director of metal ceremonies, Drucifer, and for the next hour or so we'll feature nothing but heavy metal and, of course, Nuclear Blast records. Now you might ask, who's this Drucifer guy and why is he talking to me about Nuclear Blast? Well, I got a long history with the label. I worked for the Nuclear Blast North American offices doing radio and press promotions for several years, toured and worked directly with dozens of the label's up-and-coming artists, as well as some of their biggest sellers. I've also produced and hosted metal radio shows for more than 20 years on college and commercial FM stations, as well as internet radio. And because I come from the radio world, I use a ridiculous radio name still. Also, I conducted interviews and wrote album reviews for the now-defunct Metal Maniacs magazine, and you never know, you may have seen me at a show wherever in this crazy world that you may live. Most importantly, I'm a die-hard heavy metal fanatic for over 4 decades. Metal music still gives me the same energy and confidence. Now, I'm here to play some Nuclear Blast metal for you, let you know more about the artists, the releases, and the shows. Now, since this podcast is generated by the North American office, a majority of the physical releases and tours that we'll talk about focus on North America, but I'll do my best to have a more broad view and appeal. So I'm super excited, and I'm very thankful for Gerardo and Charles in the Nuclear Blast North American offices for asking me to put together this podcast, man, which we will of course dub the Nuclear PODBLAST. I hope to deliver another 6 or 7 episodes this year, which will focus, of course, solely on Nuclear Blast artists and their releases, tour and festival information, as well as highlighting some of the great deals and merchandise at shop.nuclearblast.com. And there will be a feature interview with a Nuclear Blast artist each time. On this first episode, you'll hear my recent interview with Corrosion of Conformity that took place in person in Denver, Colorado, during the first night of the C.O.C. Black Label Society Tour, which runs through the end of February here in North America. The new C.O.C. album, No Cross, No Crown, is out January 12th, and I just think it's fantastic, front to back. I'll play a couple of tracks from the record soon, along with the interview, and I'll also play a single from Creator that became a Record Store Day exclusive release. Also, in just a minute, you'll hear a new song from the upcoming Ministry album, due out on Nuclear Blast March 9th. And finally, I'll dig up a classic blast track from the Metal Graveyard before we're through. Now, along with the C.O.C. album, the other major release for the label in January is Catharsis from Machine Head. The album comes out January 26th, and Rob Flynn explained early that we should expect less heavy and brutal, as the new album is lighter and more groove-oriented. He wanted to be realistic and honest with the fans about this being a more melodic record. The songs are mostly shorter, but there are still a couple of epics out there to be had. So let's jump right in. This is the title track from Catharsis, the new Machine Head record, out January 26th. A huge album for the band, kicking off a busy 2018. Welcome to the Nuclear PODBLAST.
Changes everything! in my veins. And if these words on my fist, oh, can you feel my catharsis? Oh, can you feel my catharsis? Oh, come on, can you feel my catharsis? Only thing keeping me sane, the music in my veins. And if these words on my fist, oh, this is my catharsis.
That there's a title track from the new Machine Head record Catharsis, due out January 26th. The album follows up the 2014 highly acclaimed Bloodstone and Diamonds album, and is on the heels of the radio single Is There Anybody Out There that was launched back in June. Now, the single gained enough airplay to crack the top 40 of the US active rock charts, and that's a first for any Nuclear Blast band, so congrats to Machine Head for that. North American dates for more An Evening with Machine Head performances start January 25th at the Nile Theater in Mesa, Arizona, and run through March 7th at Showbox Market in Seattle. Again, the band will be playing 2.5 to 3 hour shows each night with no opening acts. There's Gold VIP tour package and Platinum soundcheck packages available. Go to machinehead1.com for tickets and more information. That's machinehead1.com. Then the band head overseas starting March 22nd for shows in France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Switzerland, Austria, Hungary, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, the Netherlands, Belgium, and finishing with 11 dates in the United Kingdom, May 13th through the 26th, where the band are, of course, absolutely huge. And again, expect a very busy schedule for Machine Head for most of 2018. Now, as mentioned earlier, March 9th, Al Jorgensen and Ministry will release Americant, or Americant, 3 Ks in there, the iconic band's first release for Nuclear Blast Records. It's the first album in 4.5 years for the band, and judging by the title, you can expect a politically charged and scathing batch of songs which include Twilight Zone, Victims of a Clown, We're Tired of It, Wargasm, and the first single and video, Antifa. North American dates with Chelsea Wolfe in support begin March 22nd in Anaheim, California, and end April 28th in Austin, Texas. Now, it's been very interesting watching Ministry's career evolve from the first time I saw the Stigmata video from the Land of Rape and Honey album. The band had even more success with 1989's The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste, and Psalm 69 in 1992 allowed the band to rule the metal world with the help of the MTV Smash single New World Order and other hits Just One Fix and Jesus Built My Hot Rod. Still one of the greatest titles in the 90s. The next 6 albums saw Al and the band go through some interesting, more adventurous, but rewarding changes until the band announced a farewell tour in 2008. Jorgensen revived the band for the 2012 Relapse album, and then From Beer to Eternity in 2013, which was the last album to feature the guitar work of Mike Scaccia, who passed away of a heart attack in December of 2012. Mike Scaccia, of course, was also a founding member of Texas thrash death masters Rigor Mortis. Americant, due for release on March 9th, will include guest performances from Burton C. Bell of Fear Factory, former NWA member Arabian Prince, DJ Swamp, and others. They debuted this first single, Antifa, at the Blackest of the Black Festival in California this past May, and the song certainly harkens back to the late 80s and early 90s classic period for the band. Here it is, the first single from the brand new Ministry record, Americant. This is Antifa, the Nuclear Pod Blast.
Which has a violent history in Europe and South America, but has largely been unknown in the United States until very recently. They're the ones responsible for Trump supporters being beaten by gangs, setting fire to cars, pepper spraying old men, pelting women with eggs, and smashing in windows and ATMs. The group's compromising Antifa consider the many people across the country who voted Trump into office to
This is the Nuclear PODBLAST. Get more info at nuclearblast.com.
Two genre-defining thrash bands on Nuclear Blast showed up on a lot of the best of 2017 lists, and I'm talking about Overkill and the Grinding Wheel record and Gods of Violence from Creator. The Gods of Violence album in particular was talked about all year long, and the band headlined the Decibel Magazine 2017 tour along with Obituary, Midnight, and Horrendous here in the States. The Hail to the Hordes Record Store Day picture disc vinyl single was released on November 24th, along with two unreleased tracks, Earth Under the Sword and Warrior Heart. Of course, you just heard the single, Hail to the Hordes. Some upcoming releases. Dodecathlon from Bleeding Gods, their second record, is due out January 12th, as is, of course, the Corrosion of Conformity record, No Cross, No Crown. You'll hear a couple of songs from that coming up just real quick. Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons released The Age of Absurdity, their debut album, February 2nd. Of course, Phil Campbell is the ex-Motorhead guitarist for the last 32 years. In November of 2016, the band released a self-titled EP and hit the road, including a European tour with Saxon. Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons is just that, a unique lineup featuring Phil and his 3 sons on drums, bass, and guitar. The band is completed by vocalist Neil Starr. Look forward to hearing that one. Also on February 2nd, symphonic metal giants Therion will release Beloved Antichrist, Christopher Johnson's monumental rock opera loosely inspired by Vladimir Solovyov's A Short Tale of the Antichrist. The entire piece is an impressive 3 hours in length, told through 3 acts and 27 different character roles. The band has announced a European tour taking them to 25 different countries in 66 days, starting February 1st, where they'll perform some new and some classic Therion hits. Sweden's prog metal architects Letters from the Colony released their debut record Vignette on February 16th for fans of Meshuggah, Opeth, and Gojira. March 2nd brings the instrumental psych rock trio Earthless and their new album Black Heaven on CD and LP for Nuclear Blast. And of course, on March 9th, as noted, Ministry's Americant, released on CD, LP, and cassette. Now check this out. The Michael Schenker Tour will release the Resurrection album on March 2nd. The album was recorded in 4 locations over a 5-month period and features guest appearances by Metallica's Kirk Hammett, amongst others, along with contributions from the 3 original Michael Schenker Group era singers, Gary Barden, Graham Bonnet, and Robin McCauley, plus Doogie White, who sings in Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock project. Also appearing on the album are ex-MSG guitarist Steve Mann, drummer Ted McKenna, and bassist Chris Glenn. The upcoming Michael Schenker Tour will play 19 dates in North America from March 6th to April 3rd, featuring the same lineup including all 3 MSG-era singers. I'll be checking out the show March 29th in Denver at Cervantes, and I hope to be able to speak with Michael in person for an upcoming episode of the PODBLAST. 5 Testament Nuclear Blast reissues are coming on vinyl, CD, and cassette January 26th. 1997's Demonic, which was the first album to feature the Atomic Clock, Gene Hoglan on drums. The Gathering from 1999, the only album to feature Dave Lombardo on drums. First Strike Still Deadly, the re-recordings collection, and the Live at Eindhoven and Live at Fillmore releases will all feature stunning new artwork from Marcelo Vasco, known for his work with Slayer, Creator, Hatebreed, and others. Nuclear Blast will also feature a handful of Dimmu Borgir releases in 2018. The first batch came out on January 7th and include the albums For All Tid, Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, as well as the band's biggest release, Death Cult Armageddon, the only album from the band to sell more than 100,000 physical copies in the US. In March, the reissues for Puritanical Euphoric Misanthropia, Spiritual Black Dimensions, and Stormblast 2005 will be available, along with a couple of new 7-inch vinyl releases. Check out shop.nuclearblast.com for more information and to see the different formats available for each reissue. Now, back when I worked directly for the promotions department for Nuclear Blast, I saw 10 or 11 of the 2004 Ozfest tour dates here in the States when Dimmu Borgir graced the main stage that year, every day playing in front of the one and only Slayer. Who would have known back then that both bands would someday be a part of the Nuclear Blast roster? Here's the lead single from Death Cult Armageddon, and if you haven't seen it, check out the fantastic video for the song directed by Patrick Uleas. Progenies of the Great Apocalypse, here on the PODBLAST.
Without the eyes to see, for those who revel in silvery belief, greed and prosperity of the future seal, cloaked by the thunders of the north wind, born to capture the essence of the traits of our kind.
This is the Nuclear PODBLAST.
Open the river's mouth. Do not wait for the bar. Go push open the fleshy eyelids before dawn calls upon us.
That was The River's Mouth from Enslaved, their latest record E, released back in October of 2017, tapped to headline the 2018 Decibel Magazine tour, also featuring Wolves in the Throne Room, Mercure, and Chemist. Can't wait for that, man. February 15th in Philly is when the tour kicks off. 17 dates total, ending March 10th in Santa Ana, California. Don't miss another great Decibel Magazine tour lineup. The new album from C.O.C. is here, man, January 12th worldwide. The first album with Pepper Keenan and the 4-piece lineup since the 2006 release, In the Arms of God. Now, the album is not a rehashing of the Deliverance or Wise Blood records or any of the band's records, actually, but it does hit on all the band's material over the last 25 years. The band's pure, organic approach to the writing and recording gives it a warm, thumpy production, once again courtesy of John Custer. Again, the first show of the Black Label Society Corrosion of Conformity tour was in Denver on the 27th. I got a chance to get on the bus with the C.O.C. guys before then and to talk about the new record, touring, and just having the 4-piece lineup back kicking again. Now, if you've ever been around the touring world, you know that the first show of a tour can be super hectic. Schedules are all up in the air. Tour managers are meeting techs. So there's a little bit of chaos involved with the first day of the tour. You know, the tour bus always has a generator going, so there's some background noise. There's techs on the bus. Rob, the tour manager, is doing his best to keep everybody in line. And the band was actually still deciding on a set list while we were talking. So, and again, we'll play a couple of songs from No Cross, No Crown. You've heard a few that have been out there for the last several weeks. Hope to play some you haven't heard as well. So, again, here's the first segment of the Corrosion of Conformity interview here on the Nuclear Pod Blast. Drucifer here outside the Ogden Theater in Denver, Colorado. First night of the Corrosion of Conformity North American tour. Fitting, guys, as this is the first Nuclear Pod Blast and the opening night of the tour. You know, before we get into music, I couldn't think of a better way for you guys to introduce the new songs to the fans than 8 weeks on the road with Zach and the BLS boys, yeah?
Yeah. I gotta say, man, I mean, it's a pleasure to be out here with Zach and all those guys. We're excited they invited us. You know, it's a good audience.
Somewhat maybe preaching to the converted. Hopefully those fans aren't at all unfamiliar with you guys. So
yeah, some of them are, I guarantee you.
Yeah,
big world out there.
Yeah, there's people that are like, who?
But we've been talking about it for a long time. Maybe not. Maybe I'm crazy.
What are the tour plans after the BLS run? Overseas or staying quiet for a little while? What's going on?
We're gonna go home with our heads between our legs and give it up. No, we got it. The record's strong. We're going to be out there for a while. They're already laying out some European stuff in the spring, so we're going to do all that business, festivals or whatever they do over there. Come back to the States, do some headlining stuff,
Play in front of the 40 and 60,000 audiences over there.
Yeah.
We're out there. We're in it. We're in it to win it, sort of. We got a new record out, so yeah, we're going to hit the road till fucking hands fall off.
Speaking of No Cross, No Crown, January 12th. Now, let's face it, guys, there's a lot riding on this record, man. Having Pepper back in the 4-piece lineup, new contract with Nuclear Blast. A lot of fans who've been waiting for new music since this lineup started playing over 2 years ago. You mentioned that you felt no pressure to deliver with this record, but you had to have at least be somewhat aware of what was expected. Now we're almost 2 weeks out. You guys feel that you surpassed your own expectations?
We knew what we had to do, and we wanted it. We didn't want to bullshit anybody, and didn't want it to sound like a hokey reunion money grab, So we focused on making a record and writing music like we like to do.
It's not really a self-conscious sort of thing. We just get immersed in, making a record.
Woodrow? Yeah, probably the only pressure that we felt was self-imposed. I mean, Nuclear Blast dudes were like, hey, take as long as you want. When the record gets here, make it right, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. We're not rushing you. Take your time, make it right. Doesn't matter when a record comes out, just do it right.
Speaking of that, I think it was over a year it took for the record to be recorded with some room in between the sessions. Was the writing a full collective effort, or did maybe one or two of the guys bring most of the work to the table? How was that?
So there's a lot of information from everybody makes this thing tick, I think.
Yeah, it's a band. I mean, Keenan sings the songs. He brings some lyrics. He has some strong ideas, but everybody contributes, and arranging the songs is kind of a collective endeavor. And frankly, a lot of the writing and arranging just kind of happens off the cuff.
It's like we wrote everything in a very stream of consciousness type of way. Just kind of put your dick on a chopping block and go for it.
It's an approach that it might not necessarily turn out good, but it did.
Well, and having Custer, of course, who's been like an extra member of the band for more than a quarter of a century, since he knows you guys maybe better than anyone at this point, is he somebody that you bounce actual music ideas off of, or do you see?
Oh yeah,
absolutely, yeah. John is a wizard on all that stuff. I mean, he's a fantastic player on many instruments, and if we run into a wall and we're like, hey, where do we go, John? We've been working on this for an hour and we're stuck. What do? He'll throw 5 awesome ideas your way, and you kind of roll with what fits.
Yeah. And once you start rolling and making an album, and you have a concept or a title, and everything starts falling into place, it starts to kind of write itself. Now you're just putting the pieces together, and if you have an open mind, you can get there. If you're trying to control things sometimes too much to put your stamp on it, you end up with some mediocre kind of thing.
Cool. And again, having that time, over the course of a year to write something, was there a lot of things that were started that were, we're going back to square one, or?
Well, there were several ideas that we would go into the studio and spend 3 or 4 hours on, and we just, if they weren't working, we tossed them. That happened several times, and then some other stuff is like automatically you're boom, 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 and 2 hours later.
Toss that much shit.
We tossed a few things
early on.
Early on, yeah. And if it's not working, we're not scared to toss it. I mean, no matter how much work you put into it.
A lot of different, emotions and energies on the record. Some good variety, bone-splitting heavy shit. Some great melodic stuff too. But the first song that everybody got to hear was Cast the First Stone, which seems to hit a real sweet spot. Pure driving, riff-heavy rock. That kind of brings that familiar era of maybe Deliverance and Wise Blood back. Was that one of the first songs written for No Cross, No Crown, or is that?
I think it was too. Yeah,
it was the second one.
Yeah,
but it kind of had its own little stomping thing, and we kind of knew what that kind of shit writes itself, man. If you're really focused on what you do as a musician, that stuff in terms of a heavy rock thing, it just kind of doesn't,
Stack 'em up
Cast the First Stone, the debut single from No Cross, No Crown, Corrosion of Conformity. New album out January 12th. We'll go back to the second segment of the interview that I did with the band just a couple of weeks ago on December 27th, the first show of the Black Label Society C.O.C. North American Tour. Here we go. Back at the Ogden Theater in Denver, Colorado, it's Drucifer with the Nuclear PODBLAST. Sitting here on the tour bus with the C.O.C. guys. Guys, you're touring up until this point with this lineup has been playing material that your fans know and love, but No Cross, No Crown would be released just a few days with only 45 or 50-minute supporting slot with Zach. Are you only going to be able to play a couple of 3 songs, or are you going to deliver a little bit more of the new record?
I mean, you're limited by opening to what? How many songs we done?
9, 10,
9 songs.
We're going to work them in.
You got to figure we got what, 8, 9, 10 albums of like material that we all want to play, you know.
So tough.
It's like we want to play them, you know, and it's like
write the set list, and it gets harder and harder. Now you got a whole nother.
Every time you drop a record,
12 songs to add to it. It gets a little tougher. We need to just get to the headlining point again and start playing an hour and a half.
Well, C.O.C. has had such an interesting dichotomy over the last couple of decades between the 4-piece lineup and the 3-piece lineup. Woody, during the self-titled and 9 campaigns of the tour, did you guys feel like maybe you were bridging a gap between, In the Arms of God and the eventual return of Pepper, or were you guys ready to take that 3-piece lineup to infinity?
No. I think, it was the intention all along. We were talking to Keenan the whole time, and even when we were out doing that 3-piece stuff, we were meeting up with Down, on different festivals and stuff, and Keenan would come over and we'd jam tunes live and stuff, and it was fun. And
and you guys were working a little bit of that music here and there between songs. I saw you guys a couple times.
We were, and it was just a matter of when the time was right. We're going to get back to doing this stuff, and then being able to play all this 4-piece stuff that we love to play, all those old songs, and I'm loving it.
Well, you guys revealed that the album title, came from a priest. It was at a rectory and in like an old English church where you played there in a stained glass window or something.
It was like it was kind of a small church, and it was the fabled. According to Colchester, England, fable, the old Humpty Dumpty church.
Humpty Dumpty was the early canon.
It was an early canon, and it fell off of a tower there at that church, But anyway, they've since then they've decommissioned the church, and it's like a kind of an event center now where they have gigs and music and whatnot, and C.O.C. played there, and we're like chilling in I guess what would have been the rectory or whatever, and there's these giant stone walls and these little tiny stained glass windows, and one of the windows was No Cross, No Crown, with a dude getting hit over the head with a stick or something. Yeah, this was like one of the first gigs we were like out doing, and we're like, Keenan and I and all the rest of us, we're like looking at that thing going like, and Pepper was like, man, that might be, the name of the record.
I'll
2 years later, it was like, okay,
Well, as you guys are sitting here signing copies of No Cross, No Crown, tell me about the album artwork, how that came together, if you guys had a hand in that idea-wise.
It was an idea of, I had seen an image of like this kind of thing it just kind of reminded me of 2001 Space Odyssey or La Guerre de Faux or some, origins of man kind of thing, and No Cross, No Crown kind of being like how much damage the cross and the crown have done globally since the dawn of that stuff, so it's just a simple image of our guy Vance just, we talked about it a bunch, and he just took off to the races on it.
When it came to tracking the record, did you guys do any rhythms live? Was it all done individually? I know it's worked both ways in the past, so...
We did a lot of tracking live. We did a lot of one guitar or the other, and read simultaneously. I think a lot of it was depending on what the song was, or Woody or Reed, Woody or Pepper would get in there and just just beat an idea to death. You know, it's real fresh.
Well, guys, that's going to about do it. I want to thank you for your time and being a part of the first Nuclear Pod Blast. Best of luck on the rest of the tour.
PODBLAST.
Congratulations on the new record, of course.
Thank you very much.
Now, before everything hits the stores and hits the fans have heard Cast the First Stone, A Wolf Named Crow, and now The Luddite with that coming out right before release date. Let's give the Podblast listeners something they haven't heard. What track, maybe a deeper cut from No Cross, No Crown, do you guys want to play?
Let's see.
Let's look on the back here. Nothing Left to Say is a personal favorite for me so far, but I'm not going to make the call.
Yeah, it's hard to say, dude.
Quest to Believe.
Little Man, any of them.
How about Little Man? Yeah, I like that. It's got a nice little swagger to it.
There you go, yeah.
Little Man.
There you
Sweet.
go. Can't go wrong, man.
All right, guys. Best of luck. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right.
Away
Little Man from No Cross, No Crown, C.O.C. here on the Nuclear Pod Blast. And as you heard, that was chosen by the band, not me. Again, this album, there's some doomy stuff on here, some high-energy rock, some bluesy, swampy stuff. No Cross, No Crown, out January 12th. Be sure to check out the Nuclear Blast shop, subscribe to Nuclear Blast USA's free email newsletter, and receive a coupon code for 10% off your next purchase at shop.nuclearblast.com. Perhaps spend some of that holiday cash that you got laying around. Some late 2017 Nuclear Blast releases you may have missed. Cryptoriana from Cradle of Filth, Thrash Anthems 2 from Destruction, that of course are some classics re-recorded. Punk legends The Addicts released their debut Nuclear Blast album, And It Was So. Cadaver released their groundbreaking Rough Times album. Accept delivered another solid Mark Tornillo-fronted release with The Rise of Chaos. Epica released the stunning The Solox System. And Sydney, Australia's Thy Art Is Murder released their fourth album, Dear Desolation. Now, the item I have my eye on at the Nuclear Blast shop is the Michael Schenker Fest Resurrection Deluxe Box, which includes a digipack and a bonus DVD, plus a 25-centimeter Michael Schenker Flying V guitar replica. The next Nuclear Pod Blast hopefully will launch about the first week of March. Also, I'll apologize in advance for any mispronunciations of names, places, or things, and all of the information and dates are current as of when this Pod Blast episode was recorded. Again, apologies if any dates have changed or any information like that. I'm only human. Going to play a couple more songs before we finish this first episode of the Nuclear Pod Blast. The opening track to the Testament Demonic album from 1997. I saw that band twice on that tour with strapping young lad supporting. It was awesome. Again, the LP and Digipack Testament reissues from Nuclear Blast are out on January 26th. But first, though, this is a true Nuclear Blast classic, Symbol of Baphomet from Hypocrisy, going back to the 1994 Inferior Devotees EP. But I actually first heard this track on the Nuclear Blast 100 compilation so many years back. Once again, this is Drucifer. Thank you so much for checking out the very first Nuclear Pod Blast, and thanks for being so metal.
The
Thanks for checking out the Nuclear PODBLAST. Music to mangle your minds.